The Philippines is the fourth happiest country in Southeast Asia, according to this. I think it's an annual survey, and we'll get into some of the details for I think like the fourth year in a row. Finland is rated the happiest country in the world, uh, and I think there's a secret that I know. I know the secret of why Finland is the happiest, and I'm gonna let you all in on it, and so that you can partake in that. It is not something that is relegated only to Finland, and I'm going to tell you about how you can partake of that and be extremely happy as well. Here a little later in the video. Anyway, there's a chart down here. The Philippines slipped, and the U.S. is listed uh, in this article. Anyway, we'll get into some of that. The Philippines slipped to 57th place out of 147 in the latest World Happiness Report, WHR, despite showing an improvement in its overall happiness score. WHR released on Thursday the Philippines' level of happiness rose to 6.107 out of 10 in 2025 from 6.048 previously. The level of happiness is based on self-assessed life evaluations averaged for the 2022 to 2024 period. Deals on wheels. And here's the chart. What you have here is two different numbers for each country, the 2012 and the 2025, I believe. I'm not sure. Let's see. 2012, 2025 is on this side, 2012 is on this side. And they've got the top five here in the world. Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden. Why do we call it Sweden? I think it's Sweden, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. The Netherlands, Philippines historical performance, and here's the bottom five in the world. Afghanistan, Sierra Leone, Lebanon, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. Anyway, over here, East and Southeast Asia. Taiwan, up there at the top. Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, Philippines, South Korea. It comes in under the Philippines. Maybe that's why there's so many South Koreans here in the Philippines. South Korea, Malaysia. And there are a number of people might not disagree with some of this list. China, Mongolia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people would disagree with this list probably, but anyway, it is what it is. Philippines is fourth happiest in Southeast Asia region, behind Singapore, ranked 34th, Vietnam, ranked 46th, and Thailand, ranked 49th. Report is published by the Well-Being Research Center at the University of Oxford in partnership with Gallup and the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Nordic nations continue to be the happiest in the world, led by Finland for the eighth consecutive year. I thought it was 4. Denmark ranked second. Iceland, Sweden, Netherlands, Costa Rica, Norway, Israel, Luxembourg, and Mexico. Surprised Mexico was there. I can tell you about Sweden and Norway. They're so happy because they have something that most of the rest of the world doesn't have, and that is lutefisk. Lutefisk, yeah, very popular, especially in the Christmas season. It is a fish that many stories about how this came about, whether it was accident or one day a Swede or Norwegian just said, I wonder what this fish would taste like if I soak it in a barrel of lye. And yeah, that's what they do. They take this fish and they soak it in lye for a period of time, and then they take it out and rinse it off. and they bake it or they boil it a number of different ways. My family used to have it at Christmas time, and some of my family members loved it. Uh, if you boil it, the smell can be a little heavy. Called by many the poor man's lobster. Just to give you an idea of what. To me, I never cared for it, but they will put in my household anyway. They would dip it in melted butter, and just like lobster. To me, lobster doesn't have any taste unless you dip it in some kind of sauce. So it's not one of my favorite meals. Anyway, the U.S. fell to its lowest ever ranking of 24th. And many of you from the U.S. or who follow any U.S. politics can understand. And many of the people that expats from the U.S. that come to the Philippines will tell you, yeah, I'm trying to escape the madness in the U.S. Experts analyze data across 6 key factors: gross domestic product per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity, and corruption. And corruption, I think, brought the Philippines down a bit, I suppose. The reason Finnish people are so happy is because Ismo is Finnish, and comedian, very funny guy. And I think he's living in the U.S. now, but he's going around the world. Pretty funny guy anyway. He's got a YouTube channel and lots of different stuff. The family and the dog, the word ass, throwback to mom. Yeah, working out, bunch of different. But yeah, we can enjoy that here in the Philippines as well, or in the U.S. I will put a link to Ismo's YouTube channel in the description, so you too can be one of the happiest people in the world and change these rankings. Anyway, there's some other interesting information. It's interesting to me. Anyway, we'll go down here and get into it. If you want to continue watching, great. And I'm going to have a little bit of commentary along here as well. We previously found a global surge in benevolent acts during 2020. That's the year 2020 is the year the governments around the world locked down, shut down travel, shut down their economies and such, and said you can't visit. You have to stay at home. You can't visit your sick relative in the hospital. Or all that type of thing. So you're not allowed out of your house. Various countries around the world, especially Western countries, you're not allowed out of your house. We will fine you. We'll put you in jail. So that sounds kind of strange that they found a global surge in benevolent acts during 2020. If you're locked in your house, how could that be? Anyway. It would be interesting to dig down a little deeper through their survey. Led by the helping of strangers, which continued through subsequent years, last year we found these acts to be prevalent in all generations, especially among millennials and Gen Z. We suggested that this upsurge of benevolent acts might have led people to feel better about themselves and their neighbors. Now, this could be like during 2020. It could be that because there was not a police person on every street, that indeed people were not obeying the government masters and they were going out and helping their neighbors, even though they were not legally allowed to do so. I think that's what happened. They were disobeying the law, the lockdown laws, and they were going and helping their neighbors who were locked away, afraid to come out of their house. Probably what happened. The WHR noted that acts of kindness remain 10% more frequent across all generations and in nearly all global regions compared to 2017 to 2019. even as trends gradually return to pre-pandemic levels. This is interesting. Global evidence on the perceived and actual return of lost wallets shows that people are much too pessimistic about the kindness of their communities compared to reality. Actual rates of wallet return are around twice as high as people expect. And interestingly enough, I can tell you here in the Philippines, there's been a number of times, I'll have money in my wallet, but when I get change, sometimes I'm in a hurry, I'll just put it in my front pocket. And if I reach in there to get something else, or I didn't put it in far enough, it'll fall out on the ground. And a number of times over the years, I've had Filipinos pick it up, and I didn't even notice I'd lost it. Sir, your money is, be careful, your money is falling out of your pocket. So that has been one of my experiences a number of times. Believing that others are willing to return your lost wallet is also shown to be a strong predictor of population happiness. Interesting. Over the past 15 years, inequality in happiness within countries has been increasing. Repeat that. Inequality in happiness within countries has been increasing, while inequality in happiness between countries has remained relatively stable. Despite this, WHR noted the pro-social behavior or altruism declined in the Philippines. Interesting. The decrease was largely associated with a decrease in donating money. Well, let's see, the pandemic, the government lockdowns, threw millions, tens of millions of people who were in poverty, threw them into deep poverty. Millions, tens of millions of people lost their jobs, lost their businesses. So that would make sense that they're probably not donating as much money. Would make sense. However, this increase masks two contrasting trends. On the one hand, an increase in the share of people helping others, 0.56%, perhaps. Yeah. On the other hand, a decrease in volunteering, 0.15, and pretty small percent, but it's there. In terms of regional patterns of social connection, the WHR noted data from the government finance statistics showed that while most young adults report having at least one social connection, a significant number are socially isolated. This is pretty, can you say internet? Can you say cell phones? Across 22 countries and regions, 17% of young adults report having no close relationships, including family and friends. So they're isolated and they're spending all their time on their phones, on the internet. Japan stands out. This is interesting. Japan stands out with over 30% of its young adult population experience social isolation. In contrast, countries like Nigeria, Egypt, and the Philippines report significantly lower rates, with less than 10% of young adults lacking close encounters. And yeah, absolutely, out of almost 150 countries or more, very makes so much sense. Filipino are family oriented. They do things as families and in groups. Very seldom do you see Filipinos wandering about by themselves. In fact, if I go into been here in the Philippines for about 10 years, and it used to happen much more often, but go into a restaurant and, why are you alone, sir? Well, because I'm hungry and you have a restaurant, Or somebody will say, oh, you're alone, sir, you're lonely. No, I'm not lonely. I'm fine by myself. But Filipinos, that's it's they think that They're family oriented. They're friend oriented. So anyway, yeah, they're very social. Other key findings were that 19% of young adults in 2023 across the world reported having no one they could count on for social support. Boy, that's close to 20%, pretty high. They might have social contacts, but not really friends that they can count on. In addition, the study showed significant differences in meal sharing rates exist worldwide, with meal sharing having a profound impact on subjective well-being comparable to the effects of income and unemployment. Interesting. Meal sharing. My experience here in the Philippines is that yes, they do that a lot. They eat as a group. They share. They order the food, and everybody shares the food there, whether it's in a restaurant or somebody's home. Moreover, social connections are essential for the well-being of young adults. Of course, it is, offering a protective buffer against harmful effects of stress. Deaths of despair are less common in countries where acts of kindness are more frequent. And I think I've heard that too. Even the poor Filipinos, if they get a big bag of rice or something, they come into some money, a little bit of money, they will share it with their neighbors. Very common thing to do. Take care of your neighbors. In the US and parts of Europe, declining happiness and social trust have contributed to increasing political polarization and a rise in anti-system votes. Declining happiness and social trust could be have a lot to do with what happened during the pandemic, when we were lied to about so many different things. Sought for comment, Federation of Free Workers Vice President Julius Caininglet said that dip in altruistic behavior among Filipinos may be attributed to low wages. Workers, even if they are willing to give, simply cannot give since they have nothing, owing to the meager increase in wages over the past 2 years given by regional wage boards that have not been enough to cover the lost value of wages. True. Inability to meet their family's basic needs has caused significant stress and anxiety among workers. Having extra money would have helped by enabling workers and their families to engage in more social, recreational activities. Thus, increasing wages to living wage levels would greatly contribute to regaining the country's spot atop pro-social behavior ratings and the happiness index. This was an interesting survey, but like all surveys, it really depends on who are you, how are you determining who you are asking, how many are you asking, 1,000, 10,000. You asking a broad range from across economic strata and male, female, rural, city, all that type of thing. They don't tell us how they're coming up with these numbers. So I always question data like this. But anyway, for what it is, it's interesting little discussion about happiness, and really comes down to each individual. And for those of you in the Philippines, or hopefully wherever you are, you can find that higher level of happiness, contentedness. Anyway, thanks for coming along. Looking forward to your comments. So anyway, safe travels, and we'll see you in the next video.